morning. Good morning. So during our last session, we were discussing about the concept called TA or transactional analysis. The meaning of transactional analysis we had discussed. Who coined this term transactional analysis, that also we had discussed, as well as we had discussed the three ego states involved in the transactional analysis. That is the parent ego state, adult ego state, and child ego state. Now, today we are going to discuss the three major types of transactions that take place between individuals from these ego states. Now, these transactions are classified as complementary transaction, cross transaction, and ulterior transaction. I hope that you have studied about these transactions. So if you have studied about these transactions that takes place from parent ego state, sometimes it takes place from child ego state, or sometimes it takes place with the combination of two ego states. So we are now going to discuss what is the meaning of complementary transaction, what is the meaning of cross transaction, and what is the meaning of ulterior transaction, that we are going to discuss now. Yes, anyone who has studied about these three transactions? We will start with complementary, and then later on we will try to find out that which transaction is considered as the positive transaction and which transactions are not welcomed in the organization. That we are going to discuss in the later part. So first we will be starting with the complementary transaction. Yes, anyone who has read about complementary transaction? Three transaction you were supposed to read. First was complementary, then cross, and then ulterior. Yes. At least try to give a try to it, even if it is wrong, 50% correct, 50% not correct, it will be okay, but give us a try if you have read. Am I audible to all?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you then. Yes. Fast. What is
Sir,
complementary? What is, yeah, please go ahead. What's your
can I
name?
share example over here?
Yeah. What's your name?
Suvarna.
Okay, yes.
Yes,
Suvarna.
suppose in an organization, if employees sometimes get late due to some issue in organization, so his supervisor or manager, which is higher in position than that employee, he says him in the ego state as a parent to child ego state, so that you should not be late in the organization anymore afterwards. So employee, I guess, says in the ego state from child to parent, as I will not become late in future again.
So this is the example of complementary transaction, right?
Yes, sir.
Very good. It is absolutely correct. So complementary transaction, we had seen the meaning of transactional analysis. It is very simple. When two or more people interact in an organization, it is considered as transaction, and analysis of that transaction is called as transactional analysis. The second part of transactional analysis we had discussed is that when these transactions are taking place in an organization, or when the employees in an organization are interacting with each other, they are interacting from one of the three ego states. First ego state is parent ego state, second is the adult ego state, and the last one is child ego state. We had also discussed that parent ego state involves authority, involves careness, whereas child ego state is considered as the state which is to obey the instructions of the parent, obey the instructions of the elders. And adult ego state, we had discussed that this ego state is matured. These people know what is good and what is bad for them. So in this example which Swarna has given, that an employee who reports late to the organization, he is instructed by the supervisor that please make sure that next time onwards you report to duties in time or on time, but you are not late. And the employee says, yes sir, I'll make sure that henceforth I will report in time or on time for the work. I will not late henceforth. So the supervisor was talking to the employee from parent ego state. Parent ego states means authority. He is having the authority, that is why he is communicating with the employee, with the person from that authority, that please make sure that tomorrow onwards you are not late. And the employee is interacting from the child ego state. Child ego state, we had seen that there, as we often see, that parent gives us instruction and we generally follow those instructions. Here the employee is accepting his fault. He knows that he is late, so he is giving an assurance from child ego state to the supervisor that yes sir, I will make sure that tomorrow onwards I will report in time to the work. So this interaction, which was intended, now why these instructions were given? These instructions were given to make sure that the employee comes in time henceforth in the organization. जब भी कोई गलती होती है तो पेरेंट हमारे को डांटते हैं या समझाते हैं या अथॉरिटी से बताते हैं कि अगर अगली बार गलती हुई तो आपको सजा होगी, और हम लोग उसको एक्सेप्ट कर लेते हैं और कोशिश करते हैं कि अगली बार वो गलती ना हो. Same is the example here. So when one person is communicating from a say parent ego state, and the other person is responding from the child ego state, and when the two interactions are complementing each other, that interaction is called as complementary interaction. Now if the supervisor is asking the employee that henceforth you have to make sure that you are not late. He is giving instruction because he is having the authority. We will change the example. Here the employee is late, and on seeing the employee late, the supervisor goes to the employee and gives a strict warning or strict instruction to the employee that please make sure that tomorrow onwards you are in time in the organization. Otherwise, strict action will be taken against you. This is the first part of the interaction. And this interaction, as it involves authority, we will assume that this interaction of supervisor is taking place from the level of what? Level of parent ego state. Now, instead of following that instruction, if the child rebels, if the employee rebels, employee says, this is the first time I am late. You're not supposed to give me strict warning for that. I'll try henceforth that I am reporting to the organization in time. Or he says that what happened if I am late? What's a big deal in that? I'm just 5 minutes late. You cannot give me a strict warning if I am just 5 minutes late. It is not 1 hour or 2 hour late. It is just 5 to 10 minutes late. And it's okay. चलता है 5-10 मिनट लेट हो गया तो क्या फर्क पड़ा, उसके लिए आप मुझे स्ट्रिक्ट वार्निंग नहीं दे सकते. तो यहां पर जो एम्प्लॉई है वो चाइल्ड ईगो स्टेट से बिहेव कर रहा है, और जो सुपरवाइजर है दैट इज बिहेविंग फ्रॉम द पेरेंट ईगो स्टेट. But can we say that these two interactions are complementing each other? ये दोनों इंटरेक्शन एक दूसरे को कॉम्प्लीमेंट कर रहे हैं क्या? तो यहां पर we can say that it is not complementing each other. So child is having two characteristics. First characteristics, that he will be showing behavior of acceptance, and the second characteristic is immature, childish, who will not listen to the advice of the parent. तो कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री ट्रांजैक्शन में क्या होगा? जो पहला एग्जांपल था जहां उसने एक्सेप्ट किया एम्प्लॉय ने, ओके सर आई विल मेक श्योर, सो सॉरी दैट बिकॉज ऑफ दिस प्रॉब्लम आई एम लेट टू द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, henceforth I will make sure that I am in the organization before time. That was in the first. So both the instructions or both the interactions were complementing each other. In the second example, we have seen that the employee is not ready to accept his mistake, but he is countering the supervisor with what? That what happens if I am 5-10 minutes late? What's a big deal in that? It is not 1 or 2 hours late. You cannot give me strict warning if I am just 5-10 minutes late. So this type of transaction cannot be called as a complementary transaction. This is the example of cross transaction. कि जिस हेतु से सुपरवाइजर एम्प्लॉई को समझाने की कोशिश कर रहा था, अगर एम्प्लॉई समझता है और उसी डायरेक्शन में जवाब देता है, देन इट इज कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री. सुपरवाइजर समझाने की कोशिश कर रहा है पर एम्प्लॉई उसे समझने की जगह उसे काउंटर करने की कोशिश कर रहा है, तो दैट ट्रांजैक्शन विल बी कॉल्ड एज क्रॉस ट्रांजैक्शन. सो दैट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन द complementary transaction and cross transaction. And it is not that every time only parent and the transaction which involves parent or child ego state will be called as complementary transaction. There can be parent transaction, there can be adult transaction which can also be treated as complementary transaction. The simplest meaning of complementary transaction is we have to understand whether both the transactions are complementing each other. अगर दो एम्प्लॉई के बीच में कुछ इंटरेक्शन हो रही है, वो इंटरेक्शन एक दूसरे को कॉम्प्लीमेंट कर रही है या क्रॉस कर रही है. अगर क्रॉस कर रही है तो इट इज क्रॉस ट्रांजैक्शन. अगर कॉम्प्लीमेंट कर रही है तो इट इज कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री ट्रांजैक्शन. इन एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इट इज always suggested that the managers should always try to concentrate on making the transactions positive in nature or complementary in nature, because complementary transactions, if there are complementary transactions, there are less chances of conflict in the organization. If there are more cross transaction, there are more chances that there will be conflict in the organization. अब पहला एग्जांपल जहां पर सुपरवाइजर ने कहा कि आप लेट हैं, अगली बार से इंश्योर कीजिए कि आप लेट नहीं होते हैं. अगर आप बार बार लेट होंगे तो स्ट्रिक्ट एक्शन हमें लेना पड़ेगा. एम्प्लॉय को अपनी गलती का एहसास हुआ, उसने सुपरवाइजर को सॉरी बोला, सॉरी सर, बिकॉज ऑफ दिस रीजन आई एम लेट, बट henceforth आई विल मेक श्योर दैट आई कम अर्ली फॉर दी वर्क. यहां पे क्या हुआ कि कॉम्प्लीमेंटरी, जिस लिए एम्प्लॉय को डांटा जा रहा था, एम्प्लॉय को अपनी गलती का एहसास हुआ, उसने तुरंत सॉरी बोला और एक्सेप्ट किया और बताया कि आगे चल के वो एंश्योर करेगा कि कभी लेट ना हो. तो यहां पर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो रही है क्या? सो देयर इज नो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट. या कॉन्फ्लिक्ट का एनवायरनमेंट क्रिएट हो रहा है क्या? नहीं. क्यों? क्योंकि जिस रीजन के लिए फर्स्ट ट्रांजैक्शन जो सुपरवाइजर की तरफ से इनिशिएट किया गया, उसे पॉजिटिवली एक्सेप्ट किया गया एम्प्लॉय की तरफ से. एम्प्लॉय को अपनी गलती का एहसास हुआ, उसने सॉरी बोला और एक्सेप्ट किया. यहां पर जो भी जो वी कैन से दी possibility of conflict is ruled out here. No conflict. He was at fault, he immediately accepted the fault, and the possibility of the conflict is ruled out. That conflict, that type is called as complementary transaction. The organization will be profitable, the efficiency of the employee will be more, the productivity of the employees will be more if more interaction, or if all the interactions that are taking place between employee and employee, or between the employee and the higher authority, or between the employee and the lower authority, if more interactions are complementary, then productivity will be more, efficiency will be more, quality wise everything will be more. So the managers of the organization should try to make the interaction that are taking place between the employees in the organization, that more and more interaction should be complementary in nature. They should not be cross, or they should not be ulterior transaction. So cross, where the employee is not accepting the instructions, where the employee is not ready to accept his fault, his mistake. And if that transaction, अब दूसरे एग्जाम्पल में जहां पर एम्प्लॉई ने अपनी गलती को कबूल नहीं किया है, उसने सीधा सुपरवाइजर को क्या बोला, क्या फर्क पड़ता है अगर 5-10 मिनट लेट हो गया, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. मतलब ही इज नॉट एक्सेप्टिंग हिज फॉल्ट. अब यहां पर हम लोग देखेंगे कि कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री नहीं हो रहा है. कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री नहीं हो रहा है तो फाइट के चांस बढ़ते, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट के चांस बढ़ते. इमीडिएटली सुपरवाइजर क्या बोलेगा, देयर इज अ रूल, एंड आई होप यू हैव रेड दैट रूल, that if you are 5 minutes late, then late mark will be entered against your name. and your half day will be deducted or half day salary will be deducted from the your monthly salary. तो ये क्या हो रहा है कि इंटरैक्शन, पहले एग्जांपल में कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री था, कोई फाइट नहीं हुई, इमीडिएटली मैटर सॉल्व हो गया। दूसरे इंटरैक्शन में क्या हो रहा है कि यहां पर अब इंटरैक्शन बढ़ते जा रहा है, और किस दिशा में बढ़ रहा है, वो फाइट की दिशा में बढ़ रहा है, डिस्प्यूट की दिशा में बढ़ रहा है, या फिर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होती जा रही है। और किसी भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में अगर ज्यादा कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होने लग गए एम्प्लॉइज के बीच में, तो इट इज harmful for that organization. So organization has to ensure that more and more and more transactions that are taking place between employees are complementary in nature, where the employees are ready to accept this their mistake. So agar cross transaction hoga to nuksan. Now the last type of transaction. Anyone who has read about ulterior transaction, what does it mean? I hope that these two transactions are clear to all, the complementary and cross transaction. Now we will move on to the third part, that is the ulterior transaction. Yes, anyone who has read about ulterior transaction, क्या रहता है ulterior transaction?
Sir,
Ulterior,
can I try again?
yes, please go ahead.
Sir, in ulterior transaction, the two ego states played at the same time.
Very good.
Suppose example I am giving, if a manager says his employees that this is very difficult situation and I don't think that you can handle it, and so in this two ego states has been played. One is that employee will say that I will do the complex situation in easy way and solve it and show to the manager. This is one stage which is a child state, and another is taken in form of conflict, that why he is saying like this to me, that I am not capable of doing the complex situations. That means two ego states played at the same time.
Very good. So it is correct. It is absolutely correct. In earlier two transactions, that is complementary and cross, we have seen that one ego state is contracting with other ego state. So only two ego states are involved in previous transaction. Now in ulterior transaction, when a person who is interacting with the other person, instead of interacting from one ego state, if he is interacting from two ego states, पहले हमने क्या देखा कि जो सुपरवाइजर है वो एक ही ईगो स्टेट से इंटरेक्ट कर रहा है, और कौन सा ईगो स्टेट है, वो पेरेंट ईगो स्टेट। वही हमने देखा क्रॉस में, वही हमने देखा इसमें भी कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री में। अल्टेरियर में, एज सुवर्णा हैज गिवन द राइट मीनिंग, and the meaning says that in this type of transaction, two ego states are involved. So a supervisor or a manager is interacting with the subordinate, with the employee, from two ego state. First ego state, I'll give you the example. The example is, for example, in a meeting, the manager informs all the subordinates. 10 subordinates are there, and the manager is conducting a meeting. There, the manager tells the subordinate that in case of any problem, come to me. My doors are always open. I'll solve your problem. This is what the manager is interacting with the subordinates. So here we will assume that the manager is interacting from the parent ego state. जैसे पेरेंट हमारे को बोलते कुछ भी समझ में नहीं आया तो मेरे पास आ जाओ, मैं आपको समझा दूं। यहां पर भी मैनेजर क्या बोल रहा है अपने एम्प्लॉइज को, अगर आपको कुछ भी समझ में नहीं आता तो मेरे पास आइए, मैं आपको समझाऊंगा, मैं आपका प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर दूंगा। माई डोर इज ऑलवेज ओपन फॉर यू ऑल। दिस इज द open interaction which is taking place. Now in ulterior we are saying that the person is interacting from two ego states. अब ये तो इंटरेक्शन हुआ 10 लोगों के लिए जो ओपन था, यहां पर एक हिडन इंटरेक्शन भी है, एंड द हिडन इंटरेक्शन इज इन द माइंड ऑफ द मैनेजर। इट इज गोइंग, जो उसने बोल के नहीं दिखाया, पर वो दिमाग में क्या सोच रहा है कि अगर सारे प्रॉब्लम मुझे ही सॉल्व करने हैं तो तुमको पगार किस लिए दिया जा रहा है, आपको ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में रखा किस लिए दिया गया है, आपका प्रॉब्लम है आप सॉल्व करो और सॉल्यूशन के साथ मेरे पास। उसने बोला क्या और उसके दिमाग में क्या चलता है, दो चीजें। तो दो ईगो स्टेट से ये एम्प्लॉय जो भी मैनेजर है वो इंटरेक्ट कर रहा है अपने सबऑर्डिनेट्स। तो जब सबऑर्डिनेट उसके पास कोई प्रॉब्लम लेकर आएगा, तब क्या इस सिचुएशन में हम लोग समझ सकते कि वो मैनेजर उसको सॉल्यूशन देगा? यहां पर ज्यादातर चांसेस है कि मैनेजर सॉल्यूशन देने की जगह उसे डांटेगा और उसे जो बात वो सबके सामने नहीं कह सका, वो बात वहां पर मैनेजर शायद उसके साथ कह सकता है। अगर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में ऐसे लोग हैं जो बोलते कुछ है और सोचते कुछ है, बोलते कुछ है और करते कुछ है, तो क्या होगा? कॉन्फ्लिक्ट का सिचुएशन बढ़ता जाएगा। एम्प्लॉय क्या बोलेगा? मीटिंग में सबके सामने बोला कि कुछ भी प्रॉब्लम होता है तो मेरे पास आओ, माई डोर्स आर ओपन, आई एम देयर टू हेल्प यू आउट विद द सॉल्यूशन। एंड व्हेन आई एम गोइंग विद द प्रॉब्लम टू द मैनेजर, he is scolding me like anything, that why you are appointed, it is your job, find out the solution and then report to me. I'm not here just to give you solutions. Why you are getting paid for? Think and you solve the problem. क्या होगा? एम्प्लॉय बाहर आकर क्या बोलेगा? या वहां पर भी इंटरेक्शन, उनके बीच में झगड़ा हो सकता है, फाइट हो सकता है। He will share, the employee or the subordinate will share these interactions with his friends, with his peers, and then the environment in the organization will not be positive. Next time they are not going to believe the manager, because although in meeting he is saying something, but maybe in his mind he might be thinking something else. ऐसी सिचुएशन जब होती है, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज अल्टेरियर ट्रांजैक्शन, टू ईगो स्टेट। जब उस मैनेजर ने बताया मीटिंग में, तो वो पेरेंट ईगो स्टेट के साथ बोल रहा है, पर जब वो मन में सोच रहा है कि जब सब मेरे को ही करना है तो इनको किस लिए पगार देना है, तो ही इज बिहेविंग लाइक अ चाइल्ड, चाइल्डिश मैनर, इमेच्योर, कि आप बोल कुछ रहे हैं कर कुछ कर रहे हैं, मतलब यू आर बिहेविंग इन अ इमेच्योर मैनर। Immaturity is a characteristic of child ego state. So he is interacting with parent ego state and he is showing the characteristics of child ego state. So he is interacting with more than one ego state in an interaction. So that interaction where two ego states are involved, that interaction is called as ulterior interaction. Now cross interaction and complementary interaction are very easy to understand. We are talking about for the employees. But ulterior transactions are considered as the complex transaction, which are difficult to be understood. Now, if the employees are believing in their manager, and in the meeting, if the manager is sharing his thought that in case of any problem, please come to me, my doors are always open to you. And when they are actually going there, he is behaving in some other manner. So that will be very difficult for the employee to understand why he was behaving in a different manner now and why he was behaving like that in the yesterday's meeting. So इसका behavior कैसा है उसको predict करना मुश्किल है. तो ऐसे टाइप के लोग जब ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में काम करेंगे तो ज्यादा चांसेस है कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होगा, और अगर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होगा तो that will be affecting the quality of production, the efficiency of the employee, as well as the productivity of the employee. So it is always suggested that the managers should ensure that all the transactions that are taking place in an organization should be complementary in nature. Very few transactions should be cross transaction, and ulterior transactions are not welcome in any of the organization, because the result of cross and ulterior transaction is negative for the growth of the employee as well as for the organization. So that was regarding the concept called transactional analysis. If you have not understood, please ask your query. Otherwise, we will move on to the next concept called Johari window. Okay, so no queries means you have understood the concept of transactional analysis. Yes.
Hello. Sir, one was complementary analysis transaction, then second was ulterior, and what was the third? The name?
Third is cross transaction.
Cross transaction. Okay.
Huh?
Sir, can you give one another example for cross?
For cross transaction, okay. The simple example. Suppose a lecture is going on in the class. Lecture has started and a student comes late for the class. He asks for permission from the teacher. May I come in, sir? And the teacher gives him permission. Okay, please come in. But be sure that next time onwards, you are in the class in time. That is the transaction taking place. So teacher has allowed, but with a simple warning that today you are allowed late in the class, but tomorrow onwards, please be sure that you are in the class in time. And the student says, yes, sir, so sorry, because of this reason, I am in the class late. And the teacher allows the late coming student. That transaction is complementary. Now, same example for cross transaction. The student is late in the class and class has already started. Now, while coming to the class, he asks permission to the teacher. May I come in, sir? The teacher says that you are late for the class. Please be sure that henceforth you should not be late in the class. And without accepting the mistake, the student replies to the teacher that, sir, I'm just 5 minutes late. And what's a big deal if I'm 5-10 minutes late in the class? I stay very far, so it takes time for me to reach the class. That is why It may happen again also. So I cannot assure you that henceforth I'll be in time in the class. So this type of transaction will be considered as cross transaction. Why? Because teacher was interacting from the parent ego state and he was expecting that the child or the student who was interacting from the child ego state, he should accept his mistake. In the first example, the child has accepted the mistake, so that is why it was complementary in nature. Here the child is giving reasons for being late without accepting his mistake. It is not my mistake, I stay far away because bus was late, because the rickshaw was late. So he is not ready to accept the mistake. He is not ready to accept that, okay, tomorrow I will make sure that I am early in the class. So without accepting the mistake, he is justifying the mistake. And when he is not accepting, the transactions between the student and the teacher may go in a negative direction. The teacher may say, okay, this time I am allowing you, henceforth if you come late, I am not going to allow. So it is not becoming पॉजिटिव ट्रांजैक्शन. क्या धमकी दी जा रही है कि ठीक है आज मैं अंदर ले लूंगा या आज भी नहीं लूंगा, कल से अगर आप लेट आए तो आप बाहर ही रहना, अब क्लास में आने की आपको जरूरत नहीं. तो इंटरेक्शन जो पॉजिटिव होना चाहिए था वो अब थोड़ा नेगेटिव की तरफ जा रहा है, क्योंकि कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो रही है किसके बीच में, टीचर और स्टूडेंट के बीच में, पेरेंट ईगो स्टेट और चाइल्ड ईगो स्टेट के बीच में. क्या होना चाहिए था कि चाइल्ड ईगो स्टेट के हिसाब से अगर स्टूडेंट ने एक्सेप्ट कर लिया रहता तो वहीं पर ट्रांजैक्शन खत्म हो जाता. अब ट्रांजैक्शन बढ़ रहा है, पर बढ़ कैसे रहा है, वो नेगेटिव हो रहा है पॉजिटिव होने की जगह. तो दैट ट्रांजैक्शन इज कॉल्ड एज क्रॉस ट्रांजैक्शन. वहीं पर जैसे हमने वहां पर एग्जांपल देखा कि एम्प्लॉई लेट आया, अपनी गलती मानने की जगह उसे जस्टिफाई करने की कोशिश कर रहा है, तो नेगेटिव ट्रांजैक्शंस हो रहे हैं जिसका अफेक्ट उसकी प्रोडक्टिविटी पर भी पड़ने वाला है. सो दैट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ क्रॉस ट्रांजैक्शन. यस, एनीथिंग एल्स?
Sir, in this example, teacher is in a child ego state, right?
Teacher is talking from parent ego state. He is giving
cross.
you, huh?
In cross transaction, right? You said na one example right now.
In cross transaction, the student is interacting from the child ego state, but child is having two characteristics. One, show obedience, and the other one is to show childishness. Childishness means immaturity and obedience means maturity. First case, the student accepted his fault, said sorry, and ensured that next time it will not be happening. But in the second case, when we are talking about cross transaction, here the student is not showing his readiness to accept his fault. So teacher will remain at the parent state, but child who was supposed to show obedience, as he is not showing obedience, as he is behaving immaturely, as he is not accepting the fault, so the transaction is going to the negative direction. The teacher again, from the parent ego state, he is giving the instruction that, okay, if you are not ready to accept your fault, you are not allowed to sit in the class, go outside. So here also the teacher is not behaving or interacting from the adult ego state or child ego state. He is interacting from the authoritative ego state, that is the parent ego state. He is showing his authority, but here the child is not interacting. In complementary, what we have discussed is that interaction are complementing each other, that is complementary. When they are not complementing each other, when they are moving in a cross directions, then we can say that it is a cross transaction, right? Yes. So can we now move on to our next concept, Johari window? Yes, anyone who has read about Johari window? Anyone who has read about Johari window? You were supposed to read the two concepts, the transactions, three types of transaction, and the next one was Johari window. Anyone who has studied about Johari window?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Suvarna.
Yes, Swarna. So only one student has studied. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. The Johari window is a model which is developed by two scientists, American psychologists. One is Joseph Luft and another one is Harrison Ingham. This name Johari is derived from the initials of their names, Joseph's J-O and Harrison's H-A-R. So this is derived as Johari window. In this
Very good.
concept, it is a model which is developed for understanding of self-awareness and our understanding to others.
Very good. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, and in this Johari window, we call it as a window because it has four segments, which we call it looks like as a window, in which it consists of open, blind, hidden, and unknown.
Very good. Yes.
So
Anything else you would like to share?
yes,
Huh.
only little bit. In
Yeah,
open,
please go ahead.
it is the concept that some points regarding us, that is, I know and you also know about me. In blind, I know but you don't know, and in hidden, you know but I didn't know about myself, and in unknown, I also don't know and you also don't know. This is the concept.
Very good. Very good. Now, this particular concept, as Suvarna has rightly said, that this was developed by Joseph Luft and Harry Ingham. That is why it is called as Johari window. This model is highly useful in analyzing the cause of interpersonal conflict. Interpersonal conflict. Inter means two, personal conflict. When there is a conflict between two employees in an organization, that conflict is called as interpersonal conflict. Now, why this fight is taking place? It is not that fight doesn't mean always that there has to be physical violence involved. That physical blows are taking place, then only it can be called as fight. Fight also means when two people who are working in an organization or who are working in the same department, they are not complementing each other. They are not working very efficiently with each other because they are having conflicts, they are having differences of opinion with each other. If such type of situation happens where people do not enjoy working with each other, then we can be very sure that the growth of the organization will be hampered. So the organization has to provide an environment where people enjoy working with each other. And when they are not enjoying with each other, then this particular concept of Johari window helps the organization to analyze that what is going wrong. Now, this model of Johari window is based on two assumptions. First assumption is degree to which the people knows about himself or herself, and the degree to which the person is known to the others. Now, this particular concept helps us to understand ourselves in a better manner, as well as to understand others also in a better manner. This concept gives me the ability to understand myself and others in a better way. Now, as Suvarna has already informed, already shared that 4 parts are involved in Johari window. First window, or 4 windows we can say. First window is called as open window. Second window is called as blind window. Third window is called as hidden window, and the fourth window is known as unknown window. So, open window. So earlier we had discussed that the benefits of the complementary transaction and the loss of, or the demerits of, the ulterior and cross transaction. Here we will understand that how the different windows result in conflicts, and conflicts, if they are not solved, they are always harmful to the organization as well as to the employees. Now, the open area, it is said that as the people who are working in the organization, as they are human beings, it is very difficult to predict their behavior. But we can always try to study their behavior. Why a person is behaving in such manner under such circumstances, that can be studied, but 100% prediction is not possible, because we are dealing with human behavior, we are not dealing with machines. So in Johari window, these two psychologists, they have pointed out that in each and every person these 4 windows are present. हर एक इंसान में ये 4 एरियाज रहते हैं या 4 विंडोज रहते हैं. पहला एरिया इज ओपन एरिया, दूसरा हिडन. Just give me 2 minutes, I'll be back. Can you see my?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can.
Thank you. So we were talking about the areas. So under Johari window, both the psychologists, each and every individual, each and every employee is having these 4 areas present in him or her. First area is open area, hidden area, blind area, and unknown area. Now, what these areas are and how we should try to work upon these areas. Work upon these areas, then these areas can result in conflicts that we are going to understand now. So first area is the open area, which consists of the details of the person which are known to the person himself or herself as well as to the others. Now certain information about the person, that is the name of the person, job of the person, marital status of the person, religion of the person. So these type of information is known to the person himself as well as it is known to the others. And this is called as open area. Now, for example, 2 employees are working in a department. Both know each other by their name, by their religion, by their department. So these basic information is known to both the employees. So this area will be called as open area, where the information is known to the person as well as known to the others also. Now this open area increases with time. Now these 2 employees who have just joined the organization, in some days time they come to know their names, their designations, their family. So slowly their open area is expanding. पहले उनको सिर्फ एक दूसरे का नाम पता था, डिपार्टमेंट पता था, एक दूसरे का रिलीजन पता था, एक दूसरे कहां से आए हैं, उनका बेसिक क्वालिफिकेशन क्या है, इतनी जानकारी थी. जैसे जैसे एक दूसरे के साथ वो टाइम स्पेंड कर रहे हैं, धीरे धीरे उनका ओपन एरिया बढ़ रहा है. धीरे धीरे पता चला कि मिस्टर ए की फैमिली में कितने मेंबर्स हैं, मिस्टर बी की फैमिली में कितने मेंबर्स. बाद में पता चला कि मिस्टर ए के बच्चे कौन से स्कूल में जाते हैं, मिस्टर बी के बच्चे कौन से स्कूल में जाते हैं. और थोड़ी देर के बाद में धीरे धीरे दोनों लोग क्लोज आ रहे हैं और दोनों का ओपन एरिया बढ़ रहा है. जितना ओपन एरिया एक दूसरे के साथ बढ़ेगा उतना ही कॉन्फ्लिक्ट का चांस कम होगा. मैं अगर अपने फ्रेंड को अच्छे से जानता हूं, मुझे पता है उसके बारे में काफी सारी चीजें, तो हम दोनों के बीच में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होने के चांसेस कम होते रहेंगे. झगड़ा क्यों होता है? कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स ज्यादातर किन लोगों के बीच में होती है? जो लोग एक दूसरे को नहीं जानते हैं या एक दूसरे को कम जानते हैं, ऐसे लोगों के बीच में ज्यादातर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होती है. कम से कम कॉन्फ्लिक्ट कहां होती है? जहां पर लोग एक दूसरे को बहुत अच्छे तरीके से जानते हैं. तो ओपन एरिया is an area where the person himself is aware of that area and that area is known to the others also. And it is said that as the relationship grows between the employees, more information is shared. And this openness and compatibility leads to mutual understanding between the people and friendship among the people. The trust among each other is highest in this open area. एक दूसरे के ऊपर अच्छे से बिलीव करते हैं, अच्छे से भरोसा करते हैं. जब ज्यादातर लोग एक डिपार्टमेंट में एक दूसरे के साथ कनेक्टेड है। कौन से एरिया से? ओपन एरिया से। 5 लोग काम करते हैं, पांचों की सारी इंफॉर्मेशन और ज्यादातर इंफॉर्मेशन एक दूसरे के पास। पांचों एक टीम के हिसाब से काम करते हैं, पांचों एंजॉय करके काम करते हैं, कोई चीज एक दूसरे से छुपाते नहीं, हर चीज एक दूसरे से शेयर करते हैं। तो यहां पर क्या हम लोग कहेंगे कि these employees are working in the organization from their open area, कि वो खुद ओपन है, दूसरों के साथ एकदम ओपन है, इसीलिए वो दोनों सारे 5 लोग, 6 लोग, 10 लोग जो भी डिपार्टमेंट में है, सारे के सारे एक टीम के साथ बहुत अच्छी तरह से काम कर रहे हैं। अब यहाँ पर अगर वो अच्छे से काम कर रहे हैं, अगर उनके बीच में डिफरेंसेस ऑफ ओपिनियन कम है, तो जाहिर सी बात है कि उनका प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ेगा, उनका इफिशियंसी बढ़ेगा। So that is how the open area plays an important role in making the employee efficient and in minimizing the conflict. जब डिफरेंस ऑफ ओपिनियन कम होंगे, जब झगड़े कम होंगे, जब स्ट्रेस कम होगा, तभी प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ेगा, तभी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का ग्रोथ बढ़ेगा। इसीलिए ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हैज टू एंश्योर that people are opening their open area more and more with each other. जितना ये एरिया नैरो रहेगा, सपोज 2 एम्प्लॉई है एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में, एक एम्प्लॉई बहुत ओपन है और दूसरा एम्प्लॉई उतना ओपन नहीं। एक एम्प्लॉई दूसरे एम्प्लॉई को बताता है कि मेरे फैमिली मेंबर्स ये है, मेरे बच्चे ये स्कूल में पढ़ते हैं, मेरे माता पिता ये करते हैं, मैं ऐसी जगह पे रहता हूँ, मैं इस गांव से बिलोंग करता हूँ, मेरा स्कूलिंग इधर हुआ। फ्री टाइम में ये सारी इंफॉर्मेशन वो दूसरे एम्प्लॉय से शेयर करता है। दूसरा एम्प्लॉय क्या कर रहा है? हो यस यस यस, सिर्फ गर्दन हिला रहा है, या फिर वो सिर्फ हाँ 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 कर रहा है। अब पहला वाला एम्प्लॉई जो ओपन होने की कोशिश कर रहा है, अपनी सारी इंफॉर्मेशन शेयर करने की कोशिश कर रहा है, वो एक लिमिट तक आने के बाद रुक जाएगा। इट्स अ ह्यूमन टेंडेंसी। क्या एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा है? मैं अगर इतनी ज्यादा खुल के आपसे बात कर रहा हूं, तो मैं एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा हूं कि आप भी मेरे से खुल के बात करें। आप 100% अपने आप को पूरा रिजर्व करके रखा है आपने, आप खुल नहीं रहे और सिर्फ मैं खुल रहा हूं। तो दिस इज अगेन, ये ओपन एरिया एक तरफ से है, एक तरफ से अगर वो एरिया हिडन होता जा रहा है, हिडन एरिया हो रहा है, एक एम्प्लॉय ओपन एरिया से बात कर रहा है, एक एम्प्लॉय हाइड करके बात कर रहा है, कुछ चीजें छुपाना चाहता है वो, या वो बिल्कुल ही ओपन नहीं होना चाहता है, तो दिस विल इन फ्यूचर, कुछ दिनों पश्चात, कुछ महीनों के पश्चात वहां पर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होने की संभावना हो जाती है कि दोनों एक दूसरे के साथ एंजॉय नहीं करेंगे। हमारी दोस्ती भी कैसे होती है? क्यों हमारा कोई बेस्ट फ्रेंड होता है? सिंपल रीजन, बिकॉज वी एंजॉय द कंपनी ऑफ दैट पर्सन। मैं कुछ शेयर कर रहा हूं, वो कुछ शेयर कर रहा है, उसकी फ्रीक्वेंसी मेरी फ्रीक्वेंसी, उसके विचार मेरे विचार जब मिलते हैं, तब हमारे बीच में फ्रेंडशिप बढ़ती है। सेम इज द केस हियर ऑल्सो इन द ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल सेटअप। When the employees are interacting with each other from the open area, the transaction will be better and the results will also be better. So it is always suggested that the transaction, more and more transaction should be from the open area. Now the next area, hidden area. What's the time now? Acha, we have already crossed the time. So what we will do is we will stop here, and in the next session we will try to complete our first unit. These two concepts were very important. That is why we are taking so much of time in explaining or in discussing these concepts, but next few concepts are very simple. So we will try to complete the first unit in the next session. So please come prepared for whatever that is remaining, that is attitude is remaining, belief is remaining, and values are remaining. So attitude, belief, and value, they go hand in hand. They are very simple concepts, easy to understand concept. If you come prepared, we will be able to complete our first unit in the next chapter, next lecture, or we may require one more session to complete our first unit. So thank you everyone for joining today's session. Before we end the session, let me remind you about a very important notice. That notice is related to your anti-ragging form. So far, we have received only 31 students' email regarding the anti-ragging form. Last week, we have shared you a mail related to anti-ragging, and we have given you the detailed instructions also how the anti-ragging form is to be filled. In case of any query, the contact number is also given. So those who have not filled the anti-ragging form, please fill it immediately and send your mail to the mail ID which is mentioned in the email. So please check your last week's mail and go through the instructions, fill the anti-ragging form immediately and send it to us, because it is very, very, very important. We are controlled by not only university, but we are controlled by DTE, that is Directorate of Technical Education, Government of Maharashtra. We are also controlled by Higher Education Ministry, Government of Maharashtra. We are also controlled by AICTE, All India Technical Association. We are also controlled by Ministry of Higher Education, Government of India. So all these bodies, they keep on sending us some information which we need to get it filled from your side, and then we have to send that information to these government bodies. So anti-ragging, you might be aware of that Human Resource Development Ministry, Government of India, and the Ministry of this Education, Higher Education, Government of India, it is their strict directions that every student has to give the undertaking related to anti-ragging. So strict action can be taken not only by the college but by these government departments against those who are not going to fill that anti-ragging form. They will pressurize us, we will pressurize you. So the best part is, as and when you receive mail from our side, please fill that form immediately and send it to us so that we can send it to that government department. So we are also free, you are also free, right? So please communicate this to your friends group also, those, so that those who are not present in the session, they will also come to know that it is very important to fill your anti-ragging form immediate, right? In case of any query, we have given the contact number also, so please contact on that contact number. So thank you everyone.